अंदर बनियान पहने तो प्रिजर्व होता,
ब्लेंड हो जाता.
I want their leader brought here. I want him brought to me. I want the revolution crushed.
You okay? Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Mamluks. My name is Sim. Along with me are my fellow co-hosts Sheikh Amir,
Assalamu alaikum.
Abu Ala Morti.
Hello. Shalom.
Yeah, Morti. And the one and only Sheikh Omar Haqqani. Welcome to the show, everyone. We have an exciting show for you guys this evening. Before we get started, help us out on patreon.com/thebadmamluks. And be sure to throw a comment in the comment section below and smash that like button. It really helps us out in the algorithm and all that. Brothers and sisters, we are here to remember the one and only Charlie Kirk.
You had to say that in a different accent, huh?
Yeah. But yeah, look, Charlie Kirk got shot today, and we were first I just got out of a meeting, and everyone's messaging me and sharing the image or the video of him getting shot. Just no matter how we feel about him, he's still a human being. He has a lot of opinions that we hate, but it was bad. I mean, it's just like anything you would see in any kind of grotesque killing of someone live. Just
that has a lot to do with it too. Like I didn't know what to expect when I saw the video, and all of a sudden you see his just neck gushing with blood. And it's like, oh my god! I mean, and you know why this was weird? I'm sorry to cut you off. Is that just like 2 weeks ago, the whole Trump is dead, rumor was going around, and I opened this, I'm like, or whatever, Charlie Kirk is dead, and all of a sudden,
you don't know what to believe anymore. At first, I'm like, no, it can't be. Like, what? Same vibe I was getting. Oh, Trump is dead. Okay, you learn to blow out things off of that. Some of the news that you're getting off Twitter, and I'm like, oh, what? Oh, someone has a video of it too. Oh, there's videos of it, and then I clicked on the video, and I was just like, wow.
Sim, what do you think about him actually talking about gun violence?
Yeah,
literally talking about gun violence, he gets shot in the neck in the middle of his sentence.
Well, yeah,
how crazy is that?
I mean, that's irony, but there's a lot of things that are just strange about this whole thing, because right now, in the beginning, they had some old Bernie Sanders looking type of fella who got arrested, and poor guy, they're making him walk while his pants are down. I'm like, dude, okay, I understand. Even if he's a killer, like, let him pull up his pants and let him walk.
Well, I don't understand is why don't they just bring those wheelchairs for people that are handicapped, or just put him in that thing where you train him to the wheelchair and wheel these people out. Why are you walking through these entire idiots, stumbling over each other, like just the most inefficient way to get a person out there quickly who's a potential suspect.
Yeah. So anyway, it ends up coming out shortly, about an hour or hour and a half into it, that he's not actually the killer. This is all happening on Twitter, by the way, for those who aren't, or where we're getting these news sources from. But basically, Twitter is just like way ahead. There's the news wire, and then there's Twitter. It's just it's not even close to the speed that you're getting information. But basically, he ends up getting cleared of it, and right now we're at the stage where no one knows who killed him, but there are videos of the shooter on top of a roof. Did you see that? You saw that? There's people who are videotaping or recording. I'm in the 90s still. Videotaping. I
still say it all the time. Everyone.
They're recording people who, or someone who's like in a crouch position. They describe that the person was walking across the building, laid down, and it's right now. I'm kind of wondering whether they're looking for a patsy, because that person's probably scot-free, right? I mean, like, you
what is this, man? Like, I don't get it. Like, what the heck is going on?
Well, here's the thing. Do you remember seeing the news reports that were coming out about Israel doing these studies abroad? They've done all these kind of studies where they wanted to figure out what their public relations outlook is, and it came out big disaster. People hate them all around the world. This is, and it's really fun to study, by the way. This is not conspiracy theory. These are widely published all across the internet, and but by the Israelis actually leaked it. Someone leaked it from Israel's whoever conducted that study within their government. Someone leaked it out, but the conclusion was that their reputation has taken a huge hit, and their popularity is really bad. And so they've come up with the understanding that, well, how do we combat that? The strategy that they've taken now is that they will blame anything and everything on radical Islam. Their messaging will be radical Islam. Radical Islam being all Muslims, basically. Not radicals, actually, that they're going to be worried about radical Islam, but that we're going to otherize them, making sure that these Muslims are the ones that we're worried about. And even if we kill them, well, they're Muslims, you know? And that's their strategy. And that's why it has me worried a bit whether they're going to find some patsy, some low IQ person among the Muslim community who will take responsibility for it, and just someone they have ready, And that's got me a bit worried that there's going to be some name that pops up, and because at first I'm not going to lie, man, I breathe a sigh of relief, and I think every minority group in this country breathes a sigh of relief when they saw that white guy getting arrested in the beginning. When you
saw Bernie Sanders.
When I saw Bernie getting arrested, I was relieved, and because no one wants to be representing the community that kills a conservative Christian who's as popular as him. But anyway, that's got me a bit concerned.
I think it's been almost 5-6 hours now since this has happened.
Yeah.
So they had a suspect in custody, and they let him go. There's a lot of unanswered questions right now that people need to ask. For example, the first suspect they had, like, on what basis did they arrest him? Did they recover any weapons from him? It looked like some old man. And if you look at the shot, that shot came from a distance, and it was a pretty precise shot. It was very accurate for someone to be able to shoot in a person's neck from a distance. It's not an easy shot. It takes a lot of skill to do that. So did that old man do that? Like, what did they arrest him on? What basis? And then they let him go, and then 5-6 hours later, as of right now, the FBI director, he posted saying that they let the suspect go. They're still looking for. What
about this other name? This guy named Zakaria Ahmed Qureshi?
Yeah, I saw that. I don't think. I think just people are just posting that, and I think that's the challenge. Yes, Twitter is very fast, but pretty much anyone can post anything, right?
Yeah.
So you have to verify. You have to do your job as well. Otherwise, you end up believing everything. Even for the actual video itself, initially when you looked at it, there is a possibility, and even in our group or even some of the other circles that we're part of, some people said this looks like AI. So I had to verify it to make sure that was the actual video.
There,
So those are some of the challenges as well to actually verify. I saw the one you're saying. I saw at least two other.
Did you see this
people.
angle?
Yeah.
This angle is where the shooter is up on top of a roof. I'm trying to find the actual video.
I'm just trying to understand. This happened at a university campus.
Yeah.
I would assume that they have cameras in many places. Do they not have at least some idea of who it may have been, or which direction they went in, or their description?
You would think that.
Sorry.
So there's somebody on the roof right there? Just saying? He just ran from over. Where's my finger? Whoa. From over there, ran in, and now he's right there. Just saying, just getting right up.
So
Yeah, you
You think he'd already be in place?
It looks like
You would think that.
some people had seen him before he got shot. And 1 second.
I mean, if that was him, but I mean,
Oh, this is the moment after the shooting. Everyone's running away.
And even his presence on campus was really not welcomed, because there was a petition that was circulated before he got there that had thousands of signatures on there, which they did not want him there.
yeah.
So, but this is what he was known for. These are the type of things that he did. He engaged in, public political discourse, if you want to call it that. We agree. I think it's safe to say we disagree with pretty much 99% of his ideas.
Only 99%?
I mean, there's some things that, we can agree on.
Like, yeah, we'll think about a lot of people. But the other thing is Scott Horton had mentioned, I just saw this like last week. And
He's the founder of Tim Hortons?
no. He has that podcast Provoked with him and Daryl Cooper. He's done a lot of good work. But he was saying the same thing you were saying, Sam. The underlying default to blame when it comes to matters of Israel when things get out of hand is going to be against the Muslims in America.
Yeah.
Right? And Muslims at large, but especially the homegrowns, the Muslims that are on American soil, they're the default. Now, one thing that you have to think about is Netanyahu tweets out his condolences like 2 hours.
Within few minutes.
Within minutes.
Yeah,
He issued a detailed statement later.
Yeah,
It
later
was
on.
within a few minutes.
So after they confirmed, after the
Oh, sorry.
Get right up.
after the shooter escapes, then a more detailed post comes out. But literally after minutes of within him being shot, Netanyahu tweets out. Now, can you explain to me why a prime minister who's in the middle of a war, who had just attacked Qatar, by the way, who has all the heat on him for that, is going to worry about Charlie Kirk in America?
Exactly. This is now we're getting towards the Qatar thing.
And I think I mean, while this is an important topic, I mean, because it has implications in American politics and the dynamics between the left and the right. But do not let it distract away from the fact that Israel bombed Qatar, which is a sovereign state that is supposedly an ally of America. This is a state that had recently kicked out Hamas delegates because allegedly peace talk and ceasefire negotiations had broken down and were irreparable. And then Trump engages Witkoff, who is this negotiator on behalf of the Americans, to re-engage diplomacy.
Yeah.
And they go back. Hamas is invited back to Doha. They work out some kind of deal. The Americans come out, and Trump comes out a few days ago and says the Israelis have accepted the terms of the ceasefire, which would, by the way, involve the complete withdrawal of the idea from Gaza, the return of 1,500 Palestinians that were in jail, and that Hamas would step down from power and relinquish power to another, group of Palestinians who would, whatever, through some electoral process or whatever group, and they would lay down their arms. And as soon as that news, so keep in mind, these Hamas members were in Doha at the behest of the Americans because they wanted to end the war, as they keep saying. We want to end the war and bring the hostages home. And Hamas has said repeatedly that we are willing to negotiate at anything. We want to bring it to the end, right? They're open to bring this. The minute we get the notification that Israel has accepted the terms of the ceasefire and the negotiation, all of a sudden, they bomb Qatar. And with not just, we originally thought it was a drone, but it looks like they used their Air Force to conduct this, right? There were multiple attacks. They still failed to get the senior members. But the point being, though, is that I believe that we should not be distracted by Charlie Kirk. Yes, it's tragic, but he's one figure, right?
Yeah. Oh, the only reason it's ultimately, look, it's sad and everything that no one should be killed for whatever views that they have, no matter as abhorrent as he is and stuff. No one should be killed. And the reason we're talking about it mostly is because of the likelihood or possibility that Muslims will be blamed for this somehow. Somehow they're going to find a patsy for this. Honestly, when someone who has said the abhorrent things he has said, justifying the killing of the people of Gaza, there's no sympathy from our side. But that doesn't mean that we think it's okay.
Right.
I
feel more bad for his family.
Because he didn't give any sympathy to the people of Gaza. He never once did he tweet how tragic it is.
Yeah. Well, actually, interestingly enough, he has a post about how he lacks empathy. He was saying that empathy is overrated, and he said that we shouldn't give any empathy to anybody. Yeah. So by his own turn, like here I don't, and like Sim said, we feel bad in the sense that it's wrong that it happens, right? But do I feel bad that he's gone? No, good riddance. I don't really care. I mean, this is a person that openly defended genocide. He openly defended these things. Now, people will say this, that perhaps he was having a change of heart, right? Is that true? Allahu alam, right? But the bottom line is that even in those days when he was changing his mind, he still was very clear about how he believes that Israel was our best ally in that region, that what they're doing, any country would do what Israel is doing, and that he doesn't oppose necessarily the methodology of what IDF is doing, meaning the end goal is what he agrees with, and how you get there doesn't really matter.
Yeah. It was, at least as horrible as he is and as the terrible things he's said, he brought Dave Smith into his the Turning Point USA conferences. Dave Smith is obviously very anti-Israel, but he's a conservative, and he brought him to the stage, which says a little bit about him, that it shows that he's a little bit honest, at least in having dialogue.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he was pro-Palestine secretly. That's, I think, a big stretch.
After that, his platform, the Zionists started referring to him as anti-Semite.
So
Kirk.
They
started referring to him as anti-Semite.
They were attacking him. But so can I ask you this, though?
Yeah.
This guy has built his popularity off of controversial conversations and topics, right?
Yeah.
I could see why he would bring on an opponent, because it makes good content.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, people who are listening to him engage in, they're actively enjoying him debating points, right? If you don't have an opponent to debate, how do you generate controversy?
Yeah.
Right? So the notion that he was changing his mind and all of that, I don't know.
That's irrelevant. I think it's irrelevant.
That's a stretch.
And look, you have to put things in perspective. Him and who's the other dude that goes to college campuses? Ben Shapiro used to do that. These guys do really good. We have to be very clear. These guys do really good against college kids who aren't that well versed. Like, they wouldn't stand a chance against like Dave Smiths and stuff like that, right? So the thing is that they get lots of popularity through the youth that they focus on.
They're master debaters. Sure.
Yeah, against youth, right? Yeah. Against youth. See what you did there, but against youth, nothing. So, but one thing that's very, very important, I think, is for Netanyahu, the fact that he tweets almost before anybody else, and the fact that Charlie Kirk was considered an anti-Semite, and he was so active. Again, by osmosis, helping out this narrative of the genocide, siding with Israel. And now Muslims, I think, are definitely going to come back in the media. That's just my personal take on this. Wallahu alam.
Yeah.
It's a huge distraction from Qatar. It's a humongous distraction.
One of the sad things I see about Qatar is I see a lot of commentators talking about Qatari retaliation. That Qatar is going to retaliate, or then this is going to be the start of World War III, and I just cringe so hard. I'm like, oh my God.
Tell me why. Why do you cringe at that? Because I think there's some good reasons why you should cringe at that.
There's fundamental lack of understanding of the Middle East and what that relationship with the United States is like. The way you see, not every single country, but the GCC for sure, Egypt, but for the most part, most of the Gulf and the peninsula, right? They are vassal states. Now, what does that mean? A vassal state? Because we heard about that in like in history classes. Vassal states are usually extensions of empires and stuff. These are states that are basically giving a tribute to a stronger power and have requirements that are military related. By definition, if you look at every definition of what meets the criteria of a vassal state, these countries are meeting it. Every criteria. They have American bases. They have cooperation and defense. If all kinds of different. They just gave $1 trillion
collectively
in protection money, basically, to the powerful state. This is how vassal states operate. They give protection money. They have guarantees of protection as well from other actors and stuff. And so this is how that relationship is. So when Israel attacks Qatar, and there's outrage from Qatar. That's a show. They know what Israel's doing. They're going to be upset a little bit, like, oh, you damaged some of our infrastructure, or you're kind of embarrassing us. But they're taking orders from the powerful state.
Exactly.
Effectively, Qatar has a specific role in that region that they have to play too, dictated to them by the United States.
Yeah.
The United States tells Qatar, you need to be kind of the bad guy among the GCC,
but also the mediator and the negotiator.
Yeah, because Qatar is the one who harbors, or at least gives some kind of shelter to Muslim Brotherhood members, right?
Yeah.
People who have been ousted from their previous countries like Egypt and stuff. But there's a reason behind that. It's not because they somehow sympathize with the Muslim Brotherhood. The United States tells them to do it because they want balances of power. They need checks and balances. If someone is acting out of line among their vassal states, they need to know that, hey, we can scare you with this other person. This is how that game is played. So Qatar has a specific role in that region to kind of be supportive of Hamas and show to the people that, hey, look, we have a sentiment of protecting Islamists, we sympathize with what the Muslim Brotherhood wants, and that's just a show. That's not it's far from the truth.
Do you know what I think the biggest telltale of that is? The fact that they got the World Cup.
Yeah,
a country that did not play fair ball with America, and they're on their lines would have never received the World Cup. America would have done everything to stop that.
Yeah.
All kinds of reasons. And I think there's another point to be made here, but I want to kind of hone in on this point here, is that if the Arab states don't realize now that they are never going to have a seat at the table, the point that Sim mentioned, the Arab states know that. They know that they have to play second fiddle. They know that they have to be this third wheel in this relationship with Israel.
Look, this is what they were doing. This is what Qatar was doing with Israel just a few months ago. Qatar joins Israel for a side-by-side training in aerial drills in Greece. They're all in on it, and we're like all here debating. Oh no, poor Qatar! Like, this is an outrage.
No. I think they're all in on it, right? We know that. We've talked about it many times. But I think there's two things we should look at. Number one, realistically, this should be a call, even for these puppet governments. This should be a wake-up call for them that, look, their whole defense strategy has been, we'll pay for our protection. Our armies that we have, they can only do two things. Either we will use them to fight each other, meaning the Muslim nations, or we will use them to crush any opposition that we have. That's the only objective.
Opposition internally.
Yeah, internally.
Yeah.
Or the fun parades they have.
To keep them in power. Those are the only two. There's no defense role for them from any outside, invaders or aggressors. What are they doing for that? Well, they're paying their daddy for it, right? We're gonna pay you all this money, $1 trillion. What you're talking about? I mean, that's an investment that they're gonna make. They didn't give them $1 trillion cash, but still, even a single dollar doesn't belong to them. It belongs to the Ummah. But that's a different thing. Yeah. So this is the agreement that they've had. Even if you go back from the time when the Saudi state was formed. This was the arrangement that they had, that we will the oil prices and all those, but in return we expect protection from you. And even in Qatar, this was the agreement that they had, that you're going to protect us. The largest military base in the Middle East is like, in the same neighborhood where this bombing happened.
Yep.
And now they're too stupid, but hopefully they'll wake up and realize that
there's no waking up, and I'll tell you why. Okay,
well, hold on, let me finish, right? Like, the people that we are counting on to protect us, they're the ones who are green lighting the other party to bomb us. Where's our protection? Yeah, that's point one. And I think point two, if we are to believe what Trump has said, then that's even more of a concern for the Americans, because the American government is no longer in control of the situation.
And what are you referring to as what Trump said?
What he said,
he didn't know.
What he said was, so two things happened yesterday. The White House spokesperson, Caroline Leavitt, she came out. She read a prepared statement, which was a bunch of nonsense. But later on, Trump himself said that he was not informed. He did not know that this was going to take place. He was not aware of it. The Israelis, they acted on their own. And the only reason they're able to do this is because they know they have enough pull here. They got enough, leverage here for them to be able to do anything, to do something like this without facing any consequences. Yeah. So, people need to wake up and realize that, especially, the American citizens here who've been so proud of the government, we're independent and democracy and all of that is just talk. You're not in control. Your government does not represent you. The government of this country has been hijacked by a foreign entity. Okay, that's very clear. If the president is saying I didn't even know anything about it, and then initially they said that Qatar was warned about it in advance, and that's been proven now to not be the case, because the foreign the spokesperson for the government has said, and he gave precise timeline, right? He said that the attack happened at 3:46. And the first call I got from the Americans was 3:56, when the attack was already happening. Saying that the attack was on the way.
There was a second. So what they said was the administration, Trump administration, said that they were given notice by Israel as soon as they were in the air. And then
actually, the spokeswoman said that the United States military informed us.
Yeah.
So the Israelis, I don't think, even told the United States, and they're covering for it. Right. They don't want to be embarrassed.
Right.
Because if you look at the initial statement,
they said we had no communication at all.
They didn't have any communication at all.
You're right. And and then the Qataris are saying that, yes, they did tell us, but after the first strike had already happened.
Dang.
Right? So what that's telling you, and to his point, what he's trying to say is that if you believe that America still has this hegemony in the region, Israel is acting like a rogue state right now. They're doing whatever they want. They're leveraging the fact that, for whatever reasons, Trump is not going to condemn what he's doing. I mean, he may condemn it, but he's not going to stop them.
But what does that tell you? So, were you done or no? Because I have a really...
Well, I just wanted to say this. And this is regarding the Arab states, the Arab Khalij states in general. If they don't realize now that America is not their partner, then they might as well just hang it all up. There is no state left. If you sacrifice all of your military achievements or objectives or ambitions with the hope that America would defend you in your toughest times, they've made it very clear that the interest and the objectives of Israel will always supersede any interest and objective of the Middle East.
Yeah.
Right? Even despite you signing the Abraham Accords, despite you bringing all this fawahish in your country, despite you doing all this and signing up on board and trade agreement, bilateral trade agreements, all of these things, right? Cracking down on Islamic movements, all the stuff that you've done has amounted to zero in front of Israel. And so if you're an Arab state and a leader, I get it. They want to preserve their monarchies and their power. We understand that's not right, but we understand that. But you can do that with other partners. there are partners like you can look to the East that will they are not any better than the Americans in terms of what their desires are, but at least they're more willing to give you a seat at the table and treat you as somewhat as an equal, meaning somewhat as a person that has a say in something. Yeah. In this case, it's not. It's just that, hey, you're part of our plan here. We're making Israel have control of this region, and you're going to do what we direct you to do. And if you don't, well, look, we're just going to tell our rogue dog over here, we're going to just greenlight everything they do.
I don't even think they need to look east, south, west, north. I don't think they need to look anywhere. I think they need to look within themselves and understand why the Ummah is in the situation that it is in because of the division that they have. I mean, just look at this. I mean, it wasn't too long ago, in 2017, UAE and Saudi, they imposed a crippling boycott on Qatar, right, along with Egypt, right? And now, yesterday, all of these, we're with you and we condemn you, and Oman and UAE and Saudi went as far as saying, our military services are at your disposal, and you can use them, and they're at your disposal. You tell us what to do.
Theatrics,
this kind of but if that was real, imagine that, right? I mean, the fact that a rogue nation dared to attack a sovereign nation, knowing the only reason they did that is because they know there's not going to be any consequences. Exactly. They know there's not going to be any retaliation. They know they're not going to have. They don't even have to answer to anyone, not even their dad now. Right? Yeah. Now they're telling their daddy what we're doing, and this is how we're doing, and this is how it's going to be. And you're going to accept it.
So, some people will say that, I was talking to somebody online yesterday about this whole thing, and they were saying, what the Arab states should do. And I'm kind of on the fence about this, and I think that if, there's a fine line between diplomacy / pragmatism and cowardice, right? Like, at some point, I believe that diplomacy can work, because they were arguing that, they should sit back and let everything unfold because the world is seeing how, unhinged Israel is, right? The problem, though, I feel in this is that the world already knows they're unhinged. The reality is that America doesn't. It requires America to also say that, and America is not going to say that. So now, if you knowing that, you have to know that diplomacy is not an option with these people. Diplomacy can only be an option when your opponent, when the other side, the other belligerent party, recognizes you as an opposition that's worthy of having talks with. When you're trying to engage in peace talks and they're attacking your capital, right? There's no diplomacy in that world.
Never in history. I pay attention to history a lot. Do I know of an incident where someone is coming to negotiate the terms of a ceasefire or whatever, and you're attacking them? This is how maniacal
and then
this
saying
regime
release
is.
The hostages.
Maniacal.
This is a maniacal regime, unprecedented in history, and I've never come across a single incident of where, unless no, I can't think of anything.
These types of maniacal regimes are supposed to be able to hide their tracks. These guys are doing it openly right now, right? Like, everyone plays a role. Now, imagine what you just said. Qatar is supposed to play a role, even in the Muslim world. When I was in Egypt, people in the Muslim world, they have the sentiment of this respect for Qatar. Al Jazeera reports out of there, gives us good news. Yeah. A lot of the people seek shelter there. A lot of people were kicked out of their own regimes. They had this reputation in the Muslim world. The second thing is they're negotiators that are kind of appointed by America. And America showed the world that these people are going to be helping us out with this. Trillions of dollars, accumulated through the years, right? Yeah. And imagine there's this one little state that comes and attacks your ally that's supposed to be helping, and there's not really anything, there's no saying anything to them. What if, that's what he's trying to say, is if they don't wake up from this, which I think they won't, most likely.
No, they won't, because this is a...
But imagine what precedent it sends to the entire world and to yourself. And if you continue with this, you've literally just rolled over and showed the world that I'm just being used and nobody cares about me.
Being the vassal state is a bit different in this situation because these governments are massively unpopular. a lot of people, there's going to be a loyal group. I'm not saying every single person in Qatar hates their government or the wider Middle East, but they have sizable people who are in opposition. They're silent about it because they know they're going to be tortured like for the rest of their life if they say a single word against them. The United States guarantees not just the overall state security, but their security. These rulers, they're effectively governors. They're extensions of the United States.
Yes.
They're left to deal with internal matters and stuff like that. Housing and development, public works.
Yeah.
You do what you want. Make sure when the money comes, when Trump comes to collect those checks, that those checks come. Qatar went the extra mile and they said, here's a plane too. Here's a new Air Force One for you. So these countries can't, at least their governments, they're not going to say a single word because they're all fat and rich and happy with this alliance that they have with the United States. And they know if they do something that's out of line, there's going to be huge consequences for it. Yeah. And the Israelis have admitted so much as to it. What did Netanyahu say? They know what will be. The reporter asked him a few months into after October 11th, October 7th. They asked him, "Aren't you worried about what the Arab countries are going to do? Like, aren't they going to be upset?" He's like, "They'll be quiet if they know what's best for them."
That's right.
Yeah,
like a mafia boss.
Yeah, they know. They all have an agreement.
Yeah.
They all have an agreement, and we are naive to think that they're going to act any differently.
I mean, imagine the audacity. Israel realized they did not succeed in their mission in killing those senior officials, and they said, literally, openly, quite literally, if we didn't get them this time, we'll get them next time.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And they're saying they're going to do it again. And they have no fear in saying that.
They literally wiped out the Houthi government of Yemen. They wiped out everyone. And so these are examples of how the United States and by extension Israel warns everyone in the Middle East that this can happen to you. All these governments, they say, hey, you don't toe the line. You can say, a little bit of, shake your fist and stuff like that. They'll recognize that, you have to say stuff to make sure your public is happy and that you're upset by it. And say a lot of, let off some steam, basically. And so they know there's nothing that's going to happen.
So you know what's interesting in this? The Arab governments in the region over there are doing this to please the Americans because with the hope of that America will back them at a time, not when Israel attacks them, but when their own people turn on them. Because they're trying to preserve power. But what they don't realize is that how many times has America supported a new partner within your countries?
Yes.
Because they saw more benefit in it.
It's so unstable at all levels.
But the thing here is that, and that's generally speaking, but they've been relatively avoiding that because generally speaking, the Gulf has made a lot of progress. The citizens, they've been busy with the WWE, with concerts, with UFC fights.
Shakira.
Shakira, with the World Cup. So they're living the dream.
Did you hear about the new comedy festival that's happening?
Oh yeah.
It's going to be a huge comedy festival.
Yeah. But I think despite all of that distraction, when the common person sees this blatant disrespect, because to be honest, I believe Qataris and Saudis and Emiratis, they really love their country, right? They're countrymen. Like any person loves their country. And to see their country blatantly disrespected, it makes them lose confidence in leadership. So the very thing which you're trying to avoid is actually, it's almost like Israel is forcing you to deal with it now.
Forcing the hand.
Exactly.
Forcing the hand.
And I believe this is Allah creating a situation where Allah is exposing them for who they are.
Yeah.
Despite what you did to try to keep this power, Allah is trying to hide them from that reality. Allah is making that reality even clearer for them. That these are the people. They said they would be your protectors. They would be your allies. They would be this for you. You'd have this kind of life. But at a core level, if you're a father or a grandfather or uncle, and you're looking at the children, you say, do I want my children to live a life? Yeah, sure, they may have all the things they have, but they have no autonomy. They have no ability, meaning anything can change on a dime. There's no stability, right? Like, for example, things are... you know how I equate this to? Like a stripper.
Huh.
No, I'll tell you why. Listen. Strippers, they make very good money when they're out there. They're living the dream when they're doing this stuff.
In Dubai?
Anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. They make cash money.
Take notes. Yes.
They get all the attention. They feel like they're living. How does a stripper leave that life and go back to making a minimum wage job?
Yeah.
You get so caught up in the money and the attention, but eventually you get old and you become useless. Eventually you lose the asset that you have for the people and you're discarded. Or you step out of line, the pimp beats you up. Right? And so there's no autonomy. There's no stability. There's nothing here. They are basically like, pimps. America is the pimp.
Qatar's a prostitute.
Israel is the bouncer, the enforcer, right? And these are just different whores around the Middle East. This is what they are.
Wow.
And so eventually, guess what, whore? You're going to get old, and you're not going to be useful anymore. You won't be able to put out. And when you stop putting out, you're useless to them.
Yeah,
that's true.
I'm confused by all of this. So
we don't know what you seem to know. You seem to know a lot about this.
Yes. Let's get back to what we're talking about here.
Tell us how you know about this.
I think realistically there has been there's probably been a miscalculation on the part of Israel as well, because what they have done indirectly is probably given an opening to Saudis to never sign the Abraham Accords, because part of the agreement that was going to be part of that deal was, if they recognize them, America is going to give them security guarantees. Like, they wanted a specific agreement, like a NATO style agreement, right? Like, if we're attacked, you attack one of us, you attack all of us. That's what NATO is, right? You attack one nation, that means it's you attack all of us. So that's the kind of deal that they wanted, but this basically exposed that this is a bunch of BS.
But yeah, speaking of MBS, I think these guys think that they're better than Qatar, and they're like, oh, what happened to Qatar won't happen to us.
I don't think so. No, I don't think they're very deluded. No, they're not that.
It's an eye opener.
It's an eye opener, but they're going to continue. Actually, they're going to say this is the best we have.
No, to be honest, even aside from this issue, the way that they're dealing with the Ukraine and Poland right now, this is another thing. This is a double whammy.
Bring it.
Because Trump is now having to deal with the fact that Qatar, as an ally, is bombed by another country. By the way, that they enlisted Qatar to do this work, right? But you know what? That's Qatar. They're our whore over there, no problem. But Poland is a NATO ally, and it was recently attacked by Russia through drones. And now they're invoking that NATO principle that if we're attacked, we should all respond.
Yeah.
So now they're being pressured in Poland invoke that clause.
Dang.
And that's why NATO has been scrambling jets over Poland. But now the time's going to come now. Is America going to make good on that promise? Because all of these countries, whether they liked it or disliked it, they partook in Afghanistan and Iraq. Even if it was 1 or 2 or 5 or 10, 20. Some people even gave 15 soldiers, but they partook in it, right? So now the pressure's on me on Trump. And why this is important is because, first of all, obviously this could be war for America with Russia. Number two, what it's signifying to the Saudis is, if you can't make good to your European allies, who mean so much to you, what good is anything that you provide to us? They're not dumb people. Saudi is also doing things to... MBS is not stupid. He's not like Abdullah and and Salman. These people just kind of they just enjoy the riches and they grew up. He grew up he's cutthroat. He has a vision. I don't agree with it, but he has a vision to make Saudi prosperous, and he's gonna weigh these things out. He's not illiterate to what's happening in the world. That's one of the reasons why I believe he engages doors open to China and these places, because he also wants something security. And looking at America right now and how they're dealing with other issues besides the Gulf is a direct vision or view into the future about what his own stability looks like if America is that partner with him.
I think you guys are giving them too much credit, man, to be honest with you.
Look, I think, I
agree with what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, but I think that they're in such a delusion that they think that their money can buy out everything.
I think you're reading too many conspiracy theories online.
They know their money can't buy anything.
Okay. But hold on. When I saw all of this happen yesterday, a verse came to my mind, and maybe you can help me understand this, because for the past several years, we've been told by our local scholars here, at least many that I've heard, said that this verse is not applicable in our times. And the verse that I was reminded was, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la tattakhidul yahuda wan nasara awliya'a ba'duhum awliya'u ba'd.
This is in times of war, brother.
Okay, but so what is this then?
Can you give the translation?
Basically, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the believers that don't take the unbelievers, namely
the Jews
and the Christians, as your allies. Some people mistranslated that as friends, and they. It's
not talking about your neighbor.
It's not talking about your neighbors. So some people mistranslated that, and we are against that. That's not what this means. Okay, and our scholars told us that this was in a political sense. So can we ask these scholars now that is this verse applicable in this situation or not? Because I'm a little confused.
It's literally talking about allyship. They showed the partnership that they had with. In Greece, who is that? Who is it that they partnered up with? Qatar and Israel in Greece, right?
Yeah.
It's literally helping against your brothers, partnering up with Israel with their enemy, right? It's the clearest thing. It's the clearest way to understand this verse on this level, that Qatar is working with Israel, collaborating with them in Greece against their fellow brothers in Al-Quds, right? I think the other thing that we really have to be concerned with and worry about is, I think, look, these verses don't come to mind to a lot of people because it's, you're overthinking this, right? People who are very influential.
I want to make sure I'm not doing that.
No, help me. Yeah, in their mind, you're overthinking this. You're because
it's not applicable in our
the narrative is going to be anything that jeopardizes our stance with America and Israel is considered extremism. That's the narrative, whether we like it or not, right? So for you bringing this verse up, you're going to be considered one of those people that's like, hey, don't pay attention to him. He's crazy. That's what they do. Israeli is crazy. The other thing I was actually,
but hold on, but to be clear, this is the actual.
This is the type of allyship it's referring to.
It's talking about in the political sense,
yes.
right? We want to make sure that our audience
when
understands.
Allah says ally, it doesn't mean friend. Like friend, oh, this is my friend. It means no.
Friend at work. So can I be friend
as
with
an entity, as a sovereign entity?
My coworker at my office is not a Muslim. Can I be his friend or his?
It's funny that you're saying that. I know you're saying that.
Jizya?
No. But that's how superficial people are. Sometimes they try to make you think on that level, so you're distracted from the bigger picture, which is the bigger picture of this type of allyship. Because if you answer that question, then you have to deal with some consequences. You have to talk about certain truths that are very uncomfortable.
But and I love the point you brought up, but then these same people, I don't want to name people, but they'll tell you بالضرورة يعني we have to
there's some maslaha in it.
maslaha, or the seat open is a seat wasted. Right, or we have to engage. We have to have these talks with them.
We need to have a seat at the table.
At the table, right? We have to keep the lines of communication open with them, right? So, how does that fare into what this verse implies?
Yeah. So the principle which people use for durura, look, there's also under that category of durura. The durura has to be a legitimate durura that's sanctioned by the Sharia. You can't just use everything as a durura, right? I'll give you a small example right now. Turkey, right? You guys probably heard the rumblings in the news now. I don't know how accurate this is. Of them making preparations and working on their defense from the past month, right? And getting people ready to maybe a potential bombing against them. That's going to be happening. And after this Qatar thing happened, did you hear about this? How Turkey is like ramping up this new narrative that, hey, you have to get kind of prepped for it's a possibility of, and it's like they understand what's going to happen because it happened to Qatar, right? Number one, how valid and how legitimate do you think this is? Why would the BBC be reporting this, that Turkey is making preparations for a potential attack against them?
Against who? Sorry.
Against Turkey.
Themselves. What he's saying is that Turkey has been reports that Turkey has been preparing internally for potential attack on them. And what he's saying is that
Israel.
From Israel?
Yeah.
Oh, that's simple. Israel's acting hostile towards Turkey's vassal, which is Syria. And because of that, Turkey cut off all the trade ties with Israel, and Netanyahu went on Patrick Bet-David's podcast and said, we recognize genocide in Armenia, which was
which Israel has never done, by the way, officially.
Yeah, which it didn't do in the past. So that was something that was a way to fire back at Turkey. So relationship is declined, strained between the two, but I don't envision Israel taking that kind of a leap forward, because Turkey's much more stronger than anyone else in the Middle East,
and it neighbors Europe too much. It's too close to Europe.
It's a NATO ally too.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, it is.
I think they're an
they're a
NATO signatory. I don't think
they're a NATO ally.
Oh, yeah, okay.
They're the one who held Sweden's.
I'm saying I'm thinking
NATO
about the
membership.
EU. Yeah, they're not actually EU members, but they're economic members of the EU.
Yeah.
No, that's true. I mean, it is. And to be honest, though, but again, I think when I think about this, it's funny because I think the scholars that said this I think we have to distinguish between the role of a scholar and politics. Scholar can go talk to anybody who wants to talk to you. These Western governments don't give a crap about scholars, right? They don't. And to be honest, these Muslim governments don't even really care unless you toe their line. So you can have a seat at the table. You can serve them mac and cheese. You can whatever you want to do with them. It doesn't matter to me. But I think this verse is directly applying to rulers, people who have authority. And we're seeing that unfold right now, that when you trust these people, it'll be nothing but khayana.
Yeah.
And nothing but betrayal and backstabbing.
Yeah.
And this is what it's designed to do. Think about this, and this is what I was thinking about this too. Despite all the efforts that the Gulf has made to show how Western they are, to show how workable they are, right? One of the biggest, even till now, arguments about the Middle East is uncontrollable. It's uncivilized.
Didn't this guy, the ambassador or someone, when he went to Lebanon, like a couple of weeks ago, he told the people stop acting like animals.
Yeah.
Like publicly. This is what they think.
And what I'm saying is that despite all of these efforts to bend over, they view them as people that are not incapable of ruling themselves, incapable of progress. The average American thinks, there's a narrative that, right?
Yeah.
Israel came there to this barren land, and the desert, the Middle East is a desolate place. Israel is like this oasis in the center of this Middle East. They have no clue that Qatar and Riyadh and Doha and Abu Dhabi are light years in front of Israel in terms of infrastructure and safety and all of that, right? But they will never see it that way.
Yeah.
They will always resort to the default position that it is a backward place. There's no freedoms. They're not Western, they're anti-Western. But in fact, they've done everything to be Western. As a matter, every time I go visit there, they're more Western than I am. I don't even care about half the things that they care about that are Western, right? But all of that has gotten them what? They will never see them as Western allies.
Yeah.
So the funny part is that despite all of this they're doing, they're still seen exactly as the opposite. They're worried about as rogue as Israel is, they're worried about terrorism coming from the Middle East. From where? Saudi, no. Qatar, no. Oman, no. Bahrain, no. Right? Where's the terrorism? Saudi, no. Right? Where is this coming from? They have re-education camps and campaigns. Right? Where is this threat of extremism coming from? Right? Oh, we have to save the world from radical Islam. What are you talking about? There's all this other stuff happening, but it'll always be the narrative. No matter how... Dude, they had the WWE, one of the biggest things in America. Right? UFC in the area. They're having all these things they're doing in that region. And it's not American enough. It'll never be American enough.
Yeah. That's the biggest lesson. No matter how much they pay, no matter how much they bend over, it's never going to be enough. And the sad thing is, look, I don't like to be somebody who's complete nihilist, but I don't think they're going to learn from this. I think that they're going to be like, oh, well, we just got to keep doing this. Is the only thing that works for us. We got to keep doing it.
I don't think so.
So you're charitable.
So what do you think is going to happen?
No, I think
what happens?
I know, but hold on. I think I want to just revisit that. I don't, to say that they're not smart enough is almost like you're making an excuse for them. It's not that they are intelligent.
No, I know they're intelligent.
No,
but they're gonna continue though.
Yeah, they're continuing, but not because they're stupid.
Not because they're stupid.
It's not because they're ignorant and they have
because
a
they think this is their only choice.
They think they're trying to they're hoping, they're banking on that in the end, in this grand scheme of things, we're gonna have a seat at the table.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like, we're gonna have a seat. They're banking on the fact that China and Russia and India, these places will always be subdued, and America's still going to maintain its control and power in the world.
But you see that's not true. How smart do they have to be to see what you're seeing?
So I don't know if it's not true. It may be true. America may be in power for the next 40, 50, 60 years, right? It may be. That may be true.
But what does this prove for their seat at the table?
But what I'm saying, though, is that even if they get here's my point. Even if they get a seat at the table, what level of influence does that carry? At what cost?
I'm agreeing with you 100%, but what I'm saying now is, if you're saying that they're very intelligent, they're very smart, in certain things they are very intelligent, very smart, but don't they have to be a little more intelligent to know that, hey, we're not going to get a real seat at the table? Like, what does that tell you about their intelligence?
It's not just that. To me, I see it bigger than that. They've embedded themselves so deeply. You know how they say too big to fail? Like, let's say you invested in a business and now you just have to see it through.
Yeah.
Right? You're at the finish line, right? You can't to turn back all of that.
Yeah.
Would be such a monumental loss in money, in loss of lives, and a confidence in their people. Right? I mean, because what would happen? What would be the biggest thing if they turn in America? That would be exactly what all the Ikhwanis have been saying for years.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they were right. And now the people will see that now you're unfit for rule. For decades, people have been telling you this is not the way to look. They don't have a choice now. They've made their bed. They have to sleep in it now. But they don't like it. They're uncomfortable.
There's no exit strategy. There's no way to exit out of this attachment to America. Traditionally, what vassal states did in order to remove this attachment or this subservience to empire is wait. They just have to wait until the empire extends itself too much. Usually, like how the British Empire extended itself too much and eventually got weakened and had to eventually grant all these other countries independence. It's similar to that. They're banking on an eventual. If I was them out, if I was sitting in one of these Gulf states right now, and I was very upset about the situation I'm in, I don't want to be in this situation, but I have to because I'm just in too deep. The only thing to do right now is if you're genuinely concerned about Muslims and the state of the Ummah, you invest in your people and you give them strong Islamic education, build programs and institutions. Do that kind of stuff first and foremost, and second, you have to wait and allow America and its extend other tributaries of power to weaken, and that takes time.
It takes a lot of time.
No, but I don't think what you're talking about. I agree with that partially. I don't think any change is gonna come overnight, right?
Yeah.
They've been in this relationship for so long. They're not just going to break up and find someone else. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think what they need to do is utilize the tools at their disposal that are already in existence. And I go back to what I said earlier. They need to work on uniting with each other. Like the OIC summit that they have, it should be more than just to meet and drink and drink chai, and issue a strong statement of condemnation. I mean, if they really wanted to, they could do a lot. And that was demonstrated by the by the oil embargo by just one nation.
Yeah, but we saw what happened to that king that did that too.
Okay, that's the price you pay, right? But they cannot say we cannot do anything. There's plenty that they can do if there's a will.
But to his point, though, that's what made the Americans come and value Saudi as a partner. They said, hey, we have to keep things good or we might lose out on this oil, right? So, yes, he lost his life, but to his point, it really shook them up. I mean, Kissinger had to fly all the way to...
But it also set an example for other people, other rulers in the region, to know that, hey, if you don't stay in line, if you don't fall in line, this is what's going to happen to you.
But to that point, right? They saw that, right? But now they saw the other side. We've been in line, but we're still being bombed. Well, so we might not as well be in line.
You know what's funny about this? This entire situation is literally Palestine. And I'll tell you why. PA falls in line, and they get crapped on.
No.
Hamas doesn't toe the line, they get crapped on. Right? What we're saying is that now if you're both if you're both going to be, if you're both going to have a negative ending, right? Where would you rather be? On your feet or on your knees?
On your feet.
Right? I mean, if the result is the same.
Yeah.
Right? Like, meaning that PA did everything possible. They're like the Gulf in this case, right? They said, we'll share intelligence. We'll have cooperation with you. We'll rat out people who are radicals in here. We'll turn over our weapons. We'll agree to your terms. Everything. And despite all of that, right now, Israel is going in there and talking about annexing the West Bank.
Yep. Yeah. Giving free reign to settlers and settlements.
So this is literally, I mean, when we look at Palestine, it's a microcosm of the Muslim world.
It's a reflection. World. Actually, you're right. It's a reflection of the Muslim world. It's a great observation. SubhanAllah. Yeah, dude, I think the distraction, don't fall for the distraction. I think we really need to focus in on, what actually happened with Qatar, break it down. But what do you think happens next? Obviously, it's too early to tell, but how do you think this relationship changes now?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing, right?
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Business as usual.
Business as usual.
They're going to find a way to prolong the war. We couldn't reach a ceasefire agreement.
That's it.
The war continues. The Israel is going to attempt to try to exhaust every possible method to come to a final solution, which is to get rid of 2 million Palestinians, either by forcing them out or making it untenable to live there.
Which they're doing right now.
Right.
Yeah.
They're going to try, and so they're going to try to buy as much time. Israel is going to want to milk the time that they have with Trump in office. They're hoping they can get the job done within 4 years. They can finally get what they want in that region. And they're banking on the fact that Trump is he's not going to say a word against them. He might come out, or I should rephrase that. He will not prevent them from doing what they're doing. Meaning he can say things against them, say, I'm unhappy, I don't like my son Israel over here for doing this, or I'm not pleased with that. They don't care what you're pleased with. Are you going to stop them, yes or no? And they know the short answer is no. And so they're really racing against the clock here, and I believe that's why they're so erratic right now, because they know after Trump, there's going to be a very left government that comes in America, and that will be.
Is it Kamala Harris?
I don't know. It could be it could be Mamdani. I don't know, but there'll be a left government that's coming in, and it'll be even more difficult, especially now. I'll tell you something. I think this is Israel's last attempt. I'll tell you why. The conversations around. And I think this was miscalculated by them. The conversations that are happening now in the Western world about the amount of dollars we've been giving them in support and unchecked support, those conversations will not stop once Trump leaves the office. Yeah. They're going to continue, right? And they're going to impact voters around, and even politicians who are coming around. This is a last-ditch effort for Israel to get this job done. Because once they get it, even the Democrats come in, they're not going to force them to leave the land.
Yeah.
Right? But if they don't succeed by the time Trump gets out, the Democrats that come into office are going to recognize a Palestinian state. They have to, because they're aligned with their European buddies, the leftists. They have to appeal to their base. Right? And so I believe, it may not be right away, but it's going to inch toward, they're going to make statements, they're going to inch towards there. Right? And so I believe that Israel
like Biden
feels...
did?
Nah, Biden. This Biden is conservative compared to the left that's going to come.
That's true.
It's a counter reaction. It's a pendulum, right? It's going back and forth. And I believe that this is their last-ditch effort. They have to do this. They need to bring this to a conclusion for themselves. Otherwise, the state of Israel is in jeopardy. And I'll tell you why. Because after this, too, for them, after Netanyahu, the Likud party and the right-wing party, with the number of mass protests happening there, it's not going to win power. They really blame them for failures of intelligence on October 7th. They blame them for jeopardizing the lives of the hostages. They blame them for misinformation. They're out there in the streets, massive protests in Israel, not because they believe that Israel shouldn't be a state. Of course, they're patriotic. They love their place. They believe that Netanyahu's right-wing government is incompetent at putting Israeli interests first. Right? Yeah. So they're racing against the clock here, in my opinion. I could be wrong here, but that's how I see it. They're really trying to finish this up, and they're going to do everything they can to extend that, and Trump realizes that too. Netanyahu has said, I'm the last thing preventing you from having a Palestinian state. Isn't that what he said openly? Yeah. He said, I'm preventing this. And he knows he's got Trump. Trump is the one saying, I'm Israel's best ally. We're Israel's best ally. They know this is their attempt to do it. But America can't be seen as just openly mowing people down and doing it, because they'll lose all credibility. But they're not going to say, they're going to be like, well, I'm not going to do it, but if you want to do it, I'll just look the other way.
Yeah. You know, one more thing, coming back to this, the assassination that happened today. Yeah. And more than 6 hours later, we're still trying to find the suspect. Yeah. Because Utah, maybe, I don't know, they're poor, they didn't have any cameras, I don't know, at the university.
Hey, is it Hamas? Huh? Is it Hamas?
Maybe the big reveal of the suspect might happen tomorrow. What's the date tomorrow?
Oh, September 11th. You figured it out.
I'm sorry. It's a possibility. I'm just saying. Like, I'm just trying to understand.
And what's the likelihood of that, they coming out on September 11th and being a Muslim guy? Yeah. A convert to Islam with a journal about jihad for the last 5 years on Facebook.
I'm just, like, this is, people are not this stupid. 6 hours later, after a sniper took a shot, there has been no footage released from any of the cameras, no description, nothing. Yeah. For 6+ hours now. And supposedly they found an old man, they let him go, and now they're still looking for the other person. Like,
then you have Kash Patel looking at you through. Then you have Kash Patel looking at you through that meme that makes you think that he's on top of this thing.
Well, we're not sure which direction he's looking at right now.
Yeah, when Kash Patel looks at you, don't know where he's looking. Okay. That's the problem.
It's scary when he looks at you.
That's why they call him, Seven Eyes, because you don't know where he's. He's just.
So that's another, thing to think about. Yeah. Because the longer, the suspect, no information is released,
they can craft a narrative.
Yeah. I mean, they're still probably trying to, get on the same page. Everyone should be on the same page when this comes out. Because at the very least, there should be some information, right? Yeah. It's not like this happened where no one was there. There were thousands of people there.
Yeah. Tucker Carlson tomorrow is supposed to be coming out with his first portion of his docuseries about his research on September 11th.
He's been digging deep into
and he recently had a guest regarding that, and he was on Piers Morgan.
I saw parts
talking about that openly.
Yeah, and it's funny, and then I love how, what, I have to admit something. I don't agree with everything he does, but I love the response that he has to people, this American exceptionalism. Yeah. This is my country. Yeah. You can't tell me, like, it's so
the
safest
place in the world.
Yeah, it's like, you can't tell me how she feel about my country. Yeah. Right? This is my business, so right?
Like, but it's so plainly obvious. Yeah. Like he's speaking. It's good because he's speaking what the average American should be thinking. Yeah. Even though he's seemingly doing genuinely, but that's really how.
It's just so funny to see that, right? Yeah, because it's like some kid, like some guy step on your lawn. This is my lawn. You can't just step here. Don't exactly cut my lawn, right?
It's that 80s attitude. It's
and it's funny because he was on a stage with Mark Cuban, and they're talking about Ukraine, and Mark Cuban's like, I'm partially Ukrainian, and my mother's side Ukrainian. Like, well, why don't you donate $1 billion over there? Like, Ukraine means so much to you. You have $1 billion. Why don't you donate $1 billion to them? Yeah. And it was just like,
that was such
a moment where it's like,
when was that?
I don't know when it was exactly, but. Right. Yeah. It was just such a moment where it was like, okay, you want us to pay. He's like, you can't force me into charity. Like, no way. You feel that passionately about it?
I can make an argument both ways. And Mark, let me ask you a question. What's your take on whether we should be sending money to Ukraine or not? Were you in favor of that?
Man, they need it.
I mean, honestly,
Don't audit.
I don't have a good answer. I can make an argument both ways, and half my family is Ukrainian from my grandparents, and so, personally, I think we should help, but I don't have a studied answer for you.
How much money have you sent to Ukraine?
None.
Oh, so what do you mean by we? You're the one whose family's from Ukraine. Like, why don't you send them $1 billion?
Because I'm trying to fix healthcare.
Well, why don't you fix their healthcare if you're like so deep? If you think we need to help, why don't you start? How about you first? And notice that's never like even an option for anybody. It's like, we need to help. That's not what charity is. Forcing other people to help is not charity.
Here's the good
vanity.
News. The good news is all the weapons were on loan lease. We're getting it back. And our dear President Trump has negotiated that we own half the minerals. So he turned this horrible tragedy of a war into a profit center, which is one of his unique gifts. I think we can all agree.
Look how awkward the stages are at the moment right now.
You know what they did? You know what they did to remedy this?
The billionaires are sitting there and they're like, "Oh, you just crapped on all my philanthropy." Like,
you know what he did to remedy this crapping on him? He invited him on his podcast. He invited Tucker Carlson on his podcast, and like the thumbnail on is them both hugging and laughing and stuff like that. That's how they work.
Yeah.
You crap on him, they have to fix their reputation. They're in cahoots. Everything's just so artificial. I still have to watch that.
But I think that those conversations, those statements in public, like, no matter what, bring them on the
damaging.
show, it doesn't take away from that clip. That clip is embedded in people's minds. Like, you feel that way, you should pay for it, right? Like, you should do it.
Yeah.
Why are you asking other people to do your dirty work for you, right?
But do you think if no matter whether you agree or disagree, on even the accuracy of the research of Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and the like, what do you think is gonna? Do you think that they have the same end of being used to be assassinated in the future?
No, I mean, there's always going to be some kind of dissent. But what Netanyahu said recently is most telling. Responding to that study I was talking about earlier, where they went out and did all kinds of they spent millions and millions of dollars on figuring out what the people's attitudes were towards Israel, and one of the conclusions that Netanyahu said out of it, it looks bad, but that means we need to not change what we're doing, but he said we need to implement the right mechanisms. Okay, now what does that mean? That's code for controlling social media, better putting just like how TikTok recently did. They've implemented a social media chief who is an Israeli IDF soldier. She's now making sure that things that are deemed anti-Semitism, anything that's deemed anti-Semitic, anything basically anti-Israel, will be shadow banned and basically removed off the platform. Google and its deep collaboration, Google and Microsoft have deep collaborations with Israel that are spanning all kinds of different industries.
And you know what's interesting now too is that they don't need people to do it anymore. They're using AI. And like they're getting rid of 5,000 people laid off, and they're using AI now. The most important thing now is to get anti-Semitism off the internet. Right, that's what they're doing. Their focus is right now, right? And I think what he's alluding to is that since the beginning of the war, Israel knows that it's lost the social media battle. Even now, I think it's too late for them. The momentum behind it, it's so wild too, because I'm seeing all kinds of people that are coming to Islam, even half foot in there, these weird freaks, these conservative, anyone that would just, I'm reading the Quran. This book, who kept the Quran from us for so long, right? They're just reading these books. I'm literally seeing just people who are not even Muslim yet. They're just having Quran reading sessions on live on TikTok just to go through the book, right? And that's something that Israel couldn't account for. I think they severely miscalculated the influence that social media has, and this is where they miscalculated, because they should have learned, because the Arabs also, the leaders there, underestimated social media. The entire Syrian revolution was conducted through social media, right? A lot of these things that happened were done through social media. They literally sparked movements and collaborative efforts. And right now, Israel is not going to, and I really believe that that's one of the things that we talked about in the beginning, that this is it opened a door that they cannot close.
Yeah. Well, one of the sunnahs of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows to the world is he gives everyone knows the Israelis and the Zionist apparatus has hundreds of billions of dollars that they're pumping into every avenue, from IT to Larry Ellison's Oracle, and just every area of technology is just being wrapped around their finger. And you notice that despite all the money that they spend, the net result of people's attitudes are still against them.
That's amazing. So
it shows like the power of the fitra, the inclination of the soul to the truth, versus this almost najis. I'm not saying money is najis, but it's a source of corruption, right?
It's a distraction.
It's a corruption of soul, and it's an illusion, right? And it obfuscates the truth. So you see two dichotomies happening in the world, just like how we saw, we earlier talked about the Palestinian Authority and the resistance in Gaza as well. There, you're seeing different dichotomies playing out on a very macro level. You're seeing this influx of money that's just going into people like Charlie Kirk and all these other influencers and stuff. But then there's truth that's coming in from other avenues.
Truth. Yeah.
Who aren't even really, who don't care about money anymore. There's many influencers who's just said, it's not about the money.
Yeah.
It's just about getting the truth out, and it's because I care about the country.
That's the difference, right? I think if anything that has been made clear in the past 2 years is that, look, what the Zionist state and their supporters are having to do is they're having to buy the support.
Yeah.
They're having to pay, the influencers, and they're begging people to host them on their show so they can come and tell their side. Whereas if you look on the other side, it's been organic.
Yeah.
In many cases, even we talked about this. The lady, what's her name? The one that does the programs for the children, the YouTuber.
Oh, Miss Rachel.
Miss Rachel, right?
Yeah.
And then people like the other person.
There's also a lot of people now.
Yeah, a lot of people who have a lot to lose.
Yeah.
And they're not being paid. They're in the opposite direction. They have a lot to lose.
Yeah.
But still, they're willing to take a stand.
Yeah.
And this is something that's happened organically.
Yeah.
That has not happened in the past 75 years plus years of occupation.
Yeah.
So I think the tide is changing, and I think we're headed in the right direction, because all of this, look, people, Muslims, they just want things instantly done.
Yeah.
Like they expect change to happen instantly. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work in any situation. But going back to what you were asking about, what will they do? I think if the Muslim, let me phrase it, if the people who are in leadership positions of Muslim nations, because I don't think we can call them Muslim leaders because they're not representing the Muslims. People and families who are in the position of leadership of Muslims, this should be a huge wake-up call for them to unite, and more importantly, come back to the root. The root is come back to the deen.
Yeah.
Because many times people neglect this point of it completely, and they come up with excuses. Oh, we're weak. They're so powerful.
Yeah.
The army is so powerful. They have nuclear weapons. It's not practical. They're gonna destroy us and all these things, and everything is gonna be destroyed and all those things. Where does the role of tawakkul come into play then?
Yeah.
Like what's the definition? And then this is why if you look in the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ as well, like I think a great example of a current situation is the Battle of Ahzab, Ghazwat al-Khandaq, where the Makkans came not by themselves. They brought all the other allies with them, with one intention and one intention only, to finish and destroy the Muslims once and for all.
Yeah.
And what did the Muslims do? They rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I mean, that concept is pretty much gone now. Like the concept of relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is non-existent. You never hear any one of those people talking about that. You don't even hear a lot of the locals talk about that.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, if they come back to this, despite knowing, the grave injustice, these governments have done against their own people, whether it was Egypt, whether it's Jordan, whether it's UAE or anything, everyone knows what happens there, the tortures, the oppression, all those things. If they were to unite and say that, hey, we're coming back to Islam now, their people are gonna forgive them. They're willing to overlook all of that.
To look at them as heroes.
Everything is in their favor if they do it right.
Yep. They'll think of them. They will call their leader Salahuddin. That's what they will do.
And
they have to make that sacrifice though, in order to, because they all want to be remembered. Why not be remembered for something good, right? Yeah. And I think, look, I think Palestine is a great example of that. Even though there's carnage and there's genocide, but the reality is, in the lens of Islam, I believe that not only are Palestinians and the people of Gaza the winners, they have took the onslaught of the entire world, and they're battling the entire world, and they're winning. They're winning in multiple ways, right? So this people whose population went down from, I think it was like 2.5 million before all of this, and they're probably a little below 2 million altogether now. They've taken on the entirety of the world, and they've changed the landscape of the entire world. Yes, there's carnage and there's blood, but that's the sunnah of Allah on this earth, right? And Allah does whatever with His creation, whatever He wants, but we also have to feel hurt and pain and do our best to help them. But the fear that people have, you talked about Ahzab, right? You have to make the appropriate preparations in order for tawakkul to actually manifest itself. We're not willing to make the appropriate preparations because there's so much sacrifice involved in those preparations. But the point is so simple and so real that any nation, even if they lose whatever they have to lose, they're still going to be considered a hero.
No, I think they have the preparation. They just need to realize that the preparation that they already have. You look at, Egypt, for example. You look at, the military hardware they have, which they buy from who? From the West, from America. They have the tanks, they have the planes, they got everything that you can think of. But what are they doing with that?
Yeah, you're right.
Same thing with with UAE or Saudi or Qatar and all of those things. The billions and billions, in hardware, whether it's aircrafts, whether it's missiles,
just gathering dust. That's all it is. They use it for their marches once a year.
That's cool. All. It's parades
yeah.
that they do. And then if needed, they'll use it against their own people, like what we saw, what happened during the uprising in Egypt, for example.
Square,
in Tahrir Square, that's what it's for.
That's what Israel harps upon the whole time, right? We're surrounded by governments. That's the narrative that they push. We're surrounded by governments that want to see our destruction. Well, the truth in that is this, and I want to be really careful when I say this, is that the capability, Muslims are saying the capability of stopping this oppression of Israel against Palestine in that region is in the hands of the Muslims.
The capability is there, the willpower is not there.
Yeah, exactly.
The capability is certainly
there. And it didn't have to get to this point if they were doing their job, right? It didn't have to get to this point where we have to talk about a Muslim military marching against Israel. If they were actually doing their job that they were supposed to, of protecting their brothers and sisters, we wouldn't get to this point, right? So I think, but I agree with you 100%. Everything's there. Everything's readily available. The willing to sacrifice and give up power and being this vessel state that Sim was referring to, that is what's shining to them right now, right? And that's their only hope that they have. But I think this next generation that's coming up, bro, I'm telling you, and there's nothing they could do about just our children's generation, our children's generation. Just absolutely nothing. If we make proper preparation and the world prepared them, we didn't even prepare them that we were supposed to. Gaza prepared them. That's what I firmly believe. And I tell my kids, I said, we wish we prepared you better. But Gaza, Allah made Gaza such a tool that it did your tarbiyah, and your generation and your following generation, there's nothing they can absolutely do against that generation. Yeah. Absolutely nothing. Oh. Absolutely nothing. 6-year-old kid, my son when he was 6, almost 7 years old, he's literally in the aisles of Target saying it loud. He doesn't care. There's all these people around. It's a Saturday morning. Abu, is this on the boycott list? Does Israel support this? Is it supporting Israel or not? He doesn't care, bro. Mm-hmm. And he's only 6 years old. I'm not going to stop him from saying that. That generation is different. We weren't like that when we were little kids.
Yeah. What does the Furqan?
Yeah, bro. Allah prepared us through Gaza.
I just have one follow-up comment before we end it. We talked about, the leaders and them having everything that they need. They don't have the willpower and all of that. But, we have some of our own friends who come back with the argument that, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that, He will not change the situation of the ummah unless they change within themselves. And that starts with us people. We ourselves are so terrible and bad and corrupt. We shouldn't be blaming it on them. How do we look at that?
Well, that's not entirely wrong either. I mean, it's a condition that means there are many layers. Yes, our rulers are representatives of our condition. Yes, there is truth in that, but there's also a responsibility to point out where your rulers are wrong as well. But while also, like you like Mort often says, you can walk and chew gum at the same time. You can do both things. You can recognize that, yes, we as a people need to work harder and become better. As people, we need to come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But also, there are clear problems with our governments and their relationship with Western imperialism. Both things can be true.
Yeah. And I think a part of, just at a proactive level, if the person is saying that we have to change ourselves first, one of the tricks and deception of shaitan is that he doesn't like when we do amr bil ma'ruf and nahy anil munkar, when we encourage people to do good and we discourage them from doing haram. If you have that recognition that, hey, we have to change our condition, when you see something wrong, you have to stop it. We have to start with ourselves and start with people around us. You have to be upholders of truth and justice. If you see something wrong in your masjid, obviously there's a proper way of going about it. And don't be like, okay, I don't want to push people away, so I'm not going to stop somebody. We can't fall into that trap either. But it starts with, yes, you want to change the condition? Change the condition. When you see something wrong, change it. And do your best to change it. You can't just be like, we have to change ourselves, so I'm just going to go and just not talk to anybody and go in i'tikaf and hopefully everything works out. No, Allah doesn't want that either. He wants you to وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. He wants you to uphold the truth and also work on yourself when everybody else is sleeping and you're awake at night standing in front of Allah. But they both go hand in hand. You have to correct things that are wrong. Starting with your children. You can stop your children with your hands. When Allah says stopping people with your hands, it's talking about people of authority. People who have the right to stop people with their hands that are doing something wrong. We do with our children on a daily basis, right? That's the first thing. But the other light that I think we should see this verse in, that Allah doesn't change the condition of people until they don't change what's within themselves. We're always looking at it from the level of we're trying to be good. Right now we're not good. And in order to be good, we have to become good ourselves. What about the condition of Allah's not going to change the condition of people when they're very powerful and they themselves destroy themselves and He changes their condition from good to bad? We have to look at that lens also. We can't look at it just one way. We can't just be, you know what I'm saying? We can't just be like, Allah's not going to change it, then we change ourselves because we're bad. No, Allah made you rulers of this earth, right, with the Sharia, and He made you at such a high level, and then He lowered you. Why are you lowered? How come you're not going back to that position, which is a default, right?
Yeah.
So I think it has to be looked at that way. But for starters, there's no way around amr bil ma'ruf and nahy anil munkar. The best way to change your condition of yourselves is when you see something wrong, no matter who it is, even if it's against yourself, like Allah mentions in the Quran, against your family, right? If you see something wrong, you have to correct it.
Even if I'm a bad person?
Even if you're a bad person, it doesn't mean you're a hypocrite. That's a great people say that all the time. I can't. That's another trick of shaitan. Wait, why are you telling someone to do something good when you yourself is bad? No, how are you ever going to get good if you don't correct something as bad?
And that's the thing that I seem to understand, because I'm not that smart. But so
I honestly feel like some people have used that as an excuse not to do anything.
Yeah, no, so I have a question for them, right? Yeah. Like, okay, I'm going to listen to your argument. You have a valid point. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to change the people unless we change ourselves. Okay, let's go with that. I'm working on changing myself because I'm a terrible person. I'm a corrupt person.
Yeah.
At what point will I know that now I'm ready for the next step? Am I gonna get
when
a
the
revelation?
When the janazah is happening,
like, is there a clue I'm gonna get, or some
never gonna get
type of a dream I'm gonna have that
never gonna get it, brother.
You have changed yourself now.
No.
You're ready for step 2 now.
But I'll tell you one thing: when your brothers are doing something and you tell them not to do it, or your children are doing something, you tell them not to do it. Guess what? It's gonna be very difficult for you to do that action again.
Yeah.
Right.
Last point before we wrap things up. Some of the listeners were upset by some of the comments from the last episode where our guest had said some things about Hamas being wiped off the face of the earth, and we didn't push back. There was a specific reason why we didn't push back, and we didn't say anything to him in regards to that. First and foremost, Hamas is designated as a terrorist organization by the United States government. And there's no, that limits our freedom of speech. It's just as simple as that. We would fall down a rabbit hole where we would end up
Hamas supporters
being described as a Hamas supporters, which we didn't want to get involved in because we're not. That's not.
But I think we strategically answered that.
Yeah, and I think Harry sufficiently asked and
no, but even
asked some follow-up questions as well.
When I was saying to him, I put it back on him, and I said, "Look, what is I said Hamas is not the real issue here." Yeah. Right? Because they're making about Hamas. That's why, look, when he's talking about these things that Hamas has to be eradicated, he's a part of the same narrative as his opponent. He just is sugarcoating it differently.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why I said, look, we have to educate ourselves. And I said to him, Hamas, if we're following the narrative that Hamas, that Netanyahu knew all of this, which he did, it's factually proven now, that means that Netanyahu's Hamas and Hamas is Netanyahu because they're an extension of him. If that's if that's one of the narratives.
Yeah.
The other narrative is what caused the conditions for Hamas to be born, and now we see there's other groups popping up. There's like 20 different groups now that are popping up that are going to be much more gruesome than Hamas, and we understand why they're that way. It's because of conditions that were there. So Hamas is not the issue. It's the conditions that Israel created. We want to make it not about Hamas. We want to make it about what conditions created Hamas and what made them thrive, and why are people supporting them.
Yeah. And lastly, the second reason was that there's no point in if we got into a back and forth with him and we managed to get him on our side, right? His political opponents would use that against him, which we don't want. We wanted him to come on the show because we support anyone who is trying to unseat or who has a realistic chance of unseating that horrible monster Randy Fine, that incredible Zionist supporter who is talking about, who gleefully tweets about the murder of Palestinian and people of Gaza and their deaths. So we wanted to bring awareness
to the level that even AIPAC rejected him.
Yeah. So this is fundamentally the reason why. It's not that we're going to agree with him on every issue. Of course, he's going to have to say certain things that the establishment wants to hear from him. He's going to have to say things about Hamas and being destroyed and stuff like that. And that's why we didn't want to get into a back and forth about that, because ultimately there's no what's the objective to be gained from that.
No, but even before that, I think that was secondary. Do you think? But look,
we wanted him to understand how Israel is thinking about this stuff, how they utilize even that language, that word, Hamas to be completely destroyed. Well, that's almost become code for Gaza to be completely destroyed. So there's things to keep in mind in regards to that.
No, but when someone is saying they don't, look, their comments are very much appreciated. I was thinking about this too. When they want us to push back about Hamas, what do they want us to say? Like, I'm being like totally genuine. Do they want us to say that no, Hamas is not a terrorist organization? Hamas is right? Because in my mind, I'm thinking that Hamas is not even the right conversation to have, because what created the conditions for Hamas and all the other groups in any place that you go in the world? Yeah. And if you come to my house, I'm going to become a radical if you come to my house and break into my house. So it's not about me and somebody breaks into my house. That's the problem. It's about the conditions that somebody creates for me to be radical, right? So I actually thought that was a good way to answer it. Allahu alam. I don't think the right way to answer was to just make this all about Hamas, because he wants us to be about Hamas. Exactly. I don't want to make it about Hamas.
Exactly. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
No, I think we good, man. It's almost 10 o'clock. MashaAllah.
Right. Do you guys hear
a little bit of a buzz?
All right. All right, that's our show for this evening. We'll see y'all next time. Assalamu alaikum.
I want their leader brought here. I want him brought to me. I want the revolution crushed.
Oh, yeah.